underlying the chaos that is just ricocheting around this country right now, and the results of which are going to be extremely bad. But underlying all of it is this demonic Christian religion, as Christianity has fucked up countries and civilizations and people for 1,800 years. It is one of the most destructive tools ever conceived. I know if you were brought up in this religion, Protestant or Catholic, you know, at this point you may be reaching to turn off the fucking program. Do it if you want to. But I would suggest, rather than run and hide from the truth, examine the fucking truth. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm screaming. All right, that's enough. Something that is interesting. I have a little piece here written by Vitaly Shevchenko. He is the Russia editor for the BBC. And I think I heard this on one newscast here in the United States over the past 24 hours, 18 hours. One country that did not feature a prominent place or any place on the toilet rats list of tariffs was Russia. Wasn't there? The U.S. outlet Axios quoted the little blonde bitch who thinks she's the White House press secretary as saying this was because existing U.S. sanctions on Russia preclude any meaningful trade. Also not included were Cuba, Belarus, and North Korea. They weren't included either. Now, as far as Cuba and North Korea, I know North Korea doesn't export anything except fucking waves of fear. And Cuba just struggles to take care of its own population. But Belarus is one of the countries that was annexed, taken over by the toilet rat early on. So, the rationale given was that, well, there are already sanctions on Russia. Yeah, well, apparently those sanctions haven't hurt Russia a goddamn bit because they're not sanctions that are interfering with the Russian economy because Russia has other outlets other than the United States to send their oil and their gas and their coal and their lumber. They don't make anything. They just dig fucking holes in the ground and extract everything they get their hands on. You know, I often wonder when I look at YouTube videos of downtown Moscow or Leningrad or, I look at some of these cities in Russia, the YouTube videos, I see all these people going here, going there. Where the fuck are they going? I mean, office buildings? For what? No, I'm serious. Maybe Lee Schlesinger, my chief sorter-outer of my confusion, will send me an email at some point telling me what the hell Russia makes for export. But the fact that it's missing, to me, is more than just, well, we got sanctions already. Bullshit. It's a little kiss on the cheek by the toilet rat to the murderous dictator of Russia. Nations with even less trade with the United States than Russia or Belarus. There is some trade going on. But like Syria, which exported $11 million of products last year. That's according to UN data. Syria was on the list. Now, if you remember, the United States, after the murderous fucker Putin invaded Ukraine, the U.S. imposed some pretty heavy-duty sanctions on Russia. And, of course, Trump likes to suck up to Putin because Trump wants to be Putin, which he never will be, but he's goddamn sure going to try, right? Now, last month, a few days ago, the toilet rat tried to act like a man, tried to act like a leader, neither of which he will ever really be. He threatened to impose 50% tariff on countries buying Russian oil. if the murderous dictator of Russia did not agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine. And today, Thursday, Russian media also argued that their country was not on the tariffs list because of existing sanctions. State-run Russia 24 TV, Russian news agency television station, said, quote, no tariffs have been imposed on Russia, but that's not because of some special treatment. Oh, no. It's simply because Western sanctions are already in place against our country, end quote. Well, according to the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, here's a little information for you. The U.S. imported goods from Russia in 2024 were $3.5 billion. I thought we had sanctions. Most of that was, here we go, fertilizer, nuclear fuel, and metals. Yeah, they have such a system of production in Russia, don't they? Huh? Now, some of the Russian coverage in their media there, such as it is, that has been following what Trump is doing, the coverage has taken on a decidedly mocking tone. The pro-Kremlin NTV network said that Trump treated America's allies in Europe as serfs who only responded with moaning. Yeah, never miss an opportunity when your adversary is fucking up to take advantage of it, right? Which is what Putin is doing. And then I've seen this. I saw this last night on Rachel's program on MSNBC. It was the first thing that I have had that actually cracked me up that about all this shit, the tariffs. And Rachel put out a list of name places. That's all I can refer them to, little dots of islands in the fucking Pacific or the Southern Ocean that have nothing. There's no people. They're just goddamn penguins and shit there. But the Zvezda television, which is run by Russia's defense ministry, noted the inclusion of these uninhabited islands. Like there was one called Heard Island. Did you watch, Rachel, last night? There's also McDonald Islands. Those two are on the list. Zvezda, the Russian defense television station, said, looks like some penguins will have to pay the 10% tariff. Jesus Christ. And this rotten son of a bitch, Trump, he applied 10% tariff on Ukraine. Well, Ukraine's first deputy prime minister, Yulia Shevchenko, said this tariff would mostly hit small producers in Ukraine. Yeah, they really need that, don't they? This dirty bastard. What else? I can't get too deep into the tariff situation and the trashing of the stock market today because it's being covered so extensively. And I don't want to waste the limited amount of time that I have on this little podcast to get into the dismal trade. No, it's not funeral directors, it's economics, which sadly, all of us Americans probably would do well to have a better education in economics. But we're getting one now, more or less a crash course. The thing about the declining stock market, of course, there are going to be winners in that, too. One of the things that capitalist swine love to do, I mean the ones that control huge fortunes on their own. I'm not talking about people who have 401ks. People who have 401ks or any kind of investment, I think 60% of the American population is now invested in the stock market to one degree or another. So people who have those investments are watching the real value of their portfolios shrink and shrink further and shrink further. And the whole idea of a 401k was a retirement account primarily. You put money in some instances your employer would put money in. It was supposed to build over the 20, 30, 40 years. When you retired, you had a nest egg that you could rely on. But when Trump did this, when this filthy toilet rat did this imposition of these tariffs, he didn't consider what was, well, he doesn't give a fuck. I mean, it's not that he didn't consider, he just has he's completely unconscious. But I wonder how many people who voted for him are now watching their 401k fund sink from, say, $80,000 to $60,000, or from $60,000 to $40,000. Now, the people who will not suffer are the people who control huge fortunes of their own. I'm not talking necessarily about the hedge fund operators and people who work the stock market like a seesaw, come to think of it. But those people watch the market plunge and may even sell off huge blocks of stock in order to make the plunge accelerate. Then when it hits a certain low point, they buy it all back. What's the old saying? Buy low, sell high. Sure, why not? Capitalism is such a wonderful system if you are fabulously wealthy. Oh, well. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. The Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.